And homemade bacon part 2. This is the drying process. So we'll quickly go through and we'll chat about a few things before we open it up, and hopefully it's okay in there. So it is now essentially bacon. It has cured in a brine of its own making, so you can see that lots of juice has come out of the pork, and that's just down to the salt and the sugar drawing moisture out of the pork. And then the salt and sugar we've got into the pork as well. Now that is what is going to preserve it, that piece of bacon. But what I want to do is I'm going to wrap it in some linen, and then we're going to dry it in the fridge so it becomes dried bacon, which is much nicer. Intensifies the flavour. You don't get liquid coming out of it, and also just makes it a lot nicer to cook as well. You don't need to. Essentially that is bacon. Once you've dried it off, we're just going to use a clean tea towel just to dry the excess brine off it, and then that essentially is bacon. You can use it just like bacon. However, I'm going to dry it, and what it'll do is it'll firm it up and just intensify the flavour just that little bit more, and then we can, if I wanted to, I could then dry it out further and it become dry and dry and dry and last for even longer. So right, so we're going to dry it off in just a clean cotton tea towel. Just old ones, don't use good ones, but you should always have something that's just that little, that you don't really care about in the kitchen, like a tea towel, that you can use for jobs like this rather than use your best ones which hang on the oven and look fancy. And then we're going to dry it in some 100% cotton. This is cheesecloth, or muslin, or an old sheet, or a pillowcase, or a flat cotton tea towel, as long as it's not one that's got embossed kind of print on, like I Love England or anything like that, but just like a plain tea towel that's flat cotton will be fine as well. You don't want anything that's bobbly like that, because the bacon will get stuck in the bobbles, but we're just going to use that for drying, so that's fine. When you buy something like cheesecloth like this, you need to make sure that you wash it, because you don't know where it's come from, you don't know where it's been, so it's just advisable just to wash it, which is pretty straightforward. Just put it in the washing machine on a whitewash and just get it washed. These are 180 centimeters by 90 centimeters. They will have shrunk slightly in the wash, but we're going to wrap it a few times, so you probably have about maybe 3 or 4 layers per side, so that's a good size to have. And then when we're drying in the fridge, if you're doing it for the first time, I'd advise you doing it in the fridge, because the fridge has got a little bit of natural airflow. You can dry things outside in a cool shed or a cool garage, or if you've got some outbuildings, as long as they're nice and dry, you can dry them outside, that's fine. You just need to think a little bit more about pests that might be able to get to them. As a fridge is a sterile environment that hasn't got bugs, well, it's got some bugs, but it hasn't got flies flying around it or insects or those type of things. You just need, if you're drying things outside, you just need to be a little bit more protective of things that might want to eat it. So you can make like a wire mesh cage to go around it, and then that'll protect it from things that want to eat it. Now, my fridge is kind of quite an old one, and it's got wire racks. It's not an old one, it's a catering fridge, so it's got wire trays instead of lots of modern fridges have glass trays, and it's kind of quite difficult to dry things if something's laying flat on a tray. So this is a little stand. It's for in the cupboard, for storing tins and things like that. So in your kitchen cupboards, if you want to have make more use of the shelf space it's for that. So it's like a wire rack. So if you've got glass shelves, buying something like this and having the bacon resting on top of these shelves like that will make the air be able to circulate all around the bacon, which is what you need. You don't want the bacon sitting on a flat surface that hasn't got any air getting to it underneath, so it needs to be on some kind of rack. A drying rack, like a bacon drying rack, will be fine as well. This one's kind of quite tall, which is fine. So we'll open the bacon and we'll wrap. Get that out of the way. So we just need to be careful that the brine's not going to come out. Some people would recommend that you run the bacon under cold water just to rinse off any excess salt and sugar. I don't think that's kind of quite necessary. I just think you need to pat it dry and get rid of the excess liquid that way. because essentially you're not really going to wash out any of the salt and sugar that's already permeated the. This is going to be messy. You're not going to wash out any of the bacon, the salt and sugar that's permeated the bacon through, run it under the cold tap. You're just going to get rid of what's on the outside. I'm just going to have to be careful here, it's going to go everywhere. So just drying it with a clean, dry cloth will remove as much salt as you're going to do anyway with rinsing off with water. Excuse me while I put this in the bin carefully. Good, that didn't make a mess. So, first process is to remove excess liquid. So, cloth all over, and we'll use that cloth to get rid of that as well. And just press it, just to get rid of all that excess brine. As you can see, what you can see there, the cloth has soaked up some of that. So we just make sure that the thicker parts, that's fine. Then, there, and then we'll have the linen out. The bacon's going to rest on my shelf, so I'm only going to wrap it in linen. I'm not going to tie it up in linen. It won't need it. That's fine. So, ideally, you want the linen to cover. That's the rind side. So you want, if you're going to have the way you wrap it, you want more linen to be on the flesh side rather than the linen side. Not essential. I just think it just protects it a little bit more. So that piece down, and then we'll roll over again. I'll put that bit over there, and that bit over there, so it looks nice and neat. Draw this over and around, and that's it. Yeah, if you just want to put some string around it just to secure it, that will be fine, but that will sit happily in the fridge on the rack for the next 2 weeks to dry it out entirely. You will find, obviously use your hands, but you will find as the weeks progress, as the days progress, it will become firmer, and that's just the moisture evaporating out of liquid, so you'll be able to tell. So it's kind of quite firm at the moment, but it'll firm for a lot more over these next 2 weeks. Keep an eye on it, unwrap it every 3 or 4 days, just to have a look at it, just to kind of see if everything's going according to plan, like there's no bits of mould growth on it, or there's any kind of like unpleasant smell about it. If that's happened, something's gone wrong. If something does go wrong with this one, we'll have a talk about that and see. Sometimes you can get a little bit of spore growth, either like a white mould or a black mould. Your bacon isn't ruined if you catch it in time. You can simply scrape those bits off, put a bit of salt on, and then that will kill that bacteria from wanting to take over. So, if you imagine, this is now going to live in my fridge, on the shelf, well, on this tray, and then, therefore, that the air can now circulate all the way around it, and nothing's going to, because if the air can't circulate, you're going to get patches of moisture, and moisture is where bacteria likes to live. So by keeping it dry and elevated from everything else, we'll get a nice even drying process. The only problem with hanging things up in the fridge, wrapping them in string and wrapping them up, is that the string can bend the bacon into like funny positions like that, which is not what you want. You want a nice flat bacon. So that's that for the next 2 weeks, checking every 3 to 4 days to see how it kind of goes. I don't think I need to add anything else. I don't think so. No, it's pretty straightforward, I think. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm sure. There might be something, and I might come back and tell you something else, but I'm pretty sure that's it. You just need to keep an eye on it, and 2 weeks might take a little, depending on your fridge, it might take a little bit more than 2 weeks, might take a little bit less, depending on what kind of airflow you've got in the fridge. I did think of something then that I needed to say, but I've forgotten again. Oh yes, right, that was it. Make sure that your fridge is completely clean before you do this. The fridge should be clean anyway, but take everything out of your fridge, give everything a good old clean and disinfect, and that will remove any kind of bacteria that's in there ordinarily, and then that will get rid of any chance of the bacon picking up any bit spores of bacteria and wanting to send it off or get some kind of growth. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. That's it for the moment. That's it for 2 weeks, and we'll come back and then we'll have a look at it after 2 weeks more, maybe 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half, and then we'll kind of show you what it's kind of like once it's been air dried. There's more. There's always more. So this is the thinner end of the bacon. I seem to remember talking about this flappy bit and how it didn't really produce kind of good bacon, but I was going to do it anyway. You can just cut it off now and use it for something else, but I find that that flappy bit of bacon, even though it's not going to produce nice slices of bacon, I can use that for something else. So if I'm making a pork pie, or I'm making lardons of bacon, or something along those lines, that bit at the end, which is a bit scratty and not really nice for slicing bacon and for frying and making bacon sandwiches, it can be used for something else. So it's just a useful thing to have. So I will be using that, but I will show you. We'll open it up and we'll have a look. Because I did do a video. I've made more bacon the week after I put this into cure because I just wanted a little bit more, and so I had the flappy bits, the scratty bits at the end. And I didn't use them because I wanted like a better bacon. So I'll just kind of show you that piece at the end there. If you can see there, it's not going to particularly make like a nice slice of bacon. However, I can use it for other things, so that's why I've kept it on this one. So that's fine. I think that's it. Yeah. So I just wanted to show you that. When I made a video on meatballs, which was I used the flappy bit, which is that bit, to make the meatballs. So if you've watched the other video, if you watched this video, if you watch any of my videos, that's the flappy bit that I'm talking about, just there. That bit at the other end is okay. That won't cut. That'll make some half decent slices of bacon. But that end, it's not really useful for anything. But if I'm making nice bacon slices, but I can use that for other things. I thought I'd better show you what it looks like in the fridge, that rack. So as you can see, the shelves in my fridge are wire racks, so it means I can just put things on the shelf and everything will just automatically just get the air circular around it. But that tray that I had, which is like a can organizer or something like that, just allows you to have the same kind of process as my wire shelves, so the air can circulate around everything. And also kind of, if you buy one of those, it kind of saves you a little bit of space. So if you just wanted, you can still use the shelf under. I'm moving the camera around, that should be, because I can't point because I've got me. I don't know where the camera, that's fine. Alright, so the air is going to circulate all around there, and you can still use the space underneath here for other things that you keep in the fridge. So it's just a way of maximising space and having the air circulating around. But like a wire baking rack would be just as fine, just as long as the air can get around it. And if you're just a little bit worried that the air isn't getting to the bottom, you just need to every day just turn your bacon over so the top gets air circulated around it. That's fine. I'm sure that's it. That's it for now anyway, for the next 2 weeks.